What makes a horrible episode? What makes a great episode? That varies with everyone. I know I made a few of these lists before, but I wanted to do one for every single season and be in one set of videos. Even in the seasons that I despise and don't want to watch again, there's still one episode in there that I like. I focus on how characters are used. Did their character learn something? Were they a part of the main storyline? Was it satisfying? Either emotionally or just good action. Season 1 is pretty difficult to pick from. I'm more forgiving of the first season. A lot of things have to be figured out. The MMPR cast is very beloved, so you naturally want to give them a pass, then say Ninja Steel. I don't care about crushing them. For season 1's worst episode, I'll go with the pig surprise. I have no problem with monsters coming back, especially a good monster like Pudgy Pig, but not like this. The first half of the episode, fine. I was 8, but no kid was going to be tricked that they didn't just reuse the first Pudgy. I watched that episode over and over again. I get that they had to get episodes out, but they had the Pudgy Pig suit. They shot new material already with it. Why didn't they just film in the park? The production was willing to fly Michigo Soga to the US to film that planned series finale, but wouldn't shell out for a simple park fight. Film your own fight scenes already. Why did it take till Return of the Green Ranger for them to do it? I skip this one most of the time. It's more frustrating because right after they start using the unused Jew Ranger episodes. The best was also pretty hard to pick. There's a lot of standalone episodes I love. Happy Birthday, Zach is one of my favorite early episodes. Seeing Ernie in the mess is the best part. The clown episode, the Marge episode. Most people would pick Green with Evil, but I started hating on half the episodes. When Tommy's on screen, that's what we remember. But there's a lot of Zordon coming back. Oh, we lost him. Oh, he's back. Oh, he's lost. Simply because they had to connect Jew Ranger episodes that weren't multi-parters. So my best goes to the Green Candle. They had the balls to make the team fail. There was no last minute save. Rita won. Period. And it was a Jason episode. You know me with Jason's lack of use. Now, okay, to be fair, it was an everyone's episode. They took what they could from Jew Ranger and closed Tommy's story. Why I love it so much, it shows even when your writers didn't have things planned out, you can still pull off a miracle. You have the team working together, they break into the dark dimension, Jason's trying to do everything to save Tommy's powers. It's a real moment of him taking responsibility as their leader, where Zach has to step in to stop Jason from tunnel vision. It's the first time they show the chain of command, which Jew Ranger usually did much better. It's the one time we freaking see Tommy in the Dragonzord cockpit. I still don't get why Jew Ranger didn't have Lorna use the cockpit regularly. Then the heart-wrenching scene in the command center. It's good that the Green Ranger powers didn't fall into Rita's hands, but Tommy losing them is depressing as hell. But then you have the kiss with Kim. I think Power Rangers was probably the luckiest show in the 90s. So many things went right. Perfect casting. It had dinosaurs. Jurassic Park came out and became a hit. And the writers, even when they didn't know what they were doing, they didn't even know Dragon Ranger was in more episodes, they somehow paid off stories and characters perfectly. But then you have season 2 where it never happened again. Lights, camera, action is the dumbest episode out there. The idea of the Rangers being interviewed is fine. That would help people know the Rangers, like how Superman does his stuff with Lois Lane. But a talk show on top of the host asking really stupid questions and the interview like it was all planned. It made no sense. It was a boring filler, probably to deal with them filming in the MMPR movie. I think what would have been better is if they did go for the interview, but the news team was captured and they had to be rescued. The Rangers get shown off in the news footage and they don't get asked stupid questions. I also think this was one of the worst Bulk and Skull plans. Nothing was funny, and that slow-mo shot of Bulk falling on the stage was horrible, which is a contrast to the best episode I picked. When is a Ranger not a Ranger? Season 2 started the whole thing with Bulk and Skull trying to find out who the Power Rangers were. I liked the idea initially, because I thought them being punks ran its course. I wanted them to remain in the series, but they had to do something else. This was what I wanted from Bulk and Skull. I always felt that the two of them should have found out the truth. It wouldn't have ruined the point of their characters. They could still be stupid idiots screwing up. Proved by what they did in this episode. The Rangers losing their memories was a massive win for Zed. Bulk and Skull was in the right place, finding out who they were, and instead of chickening out or selling out who they were, they saved the day, but they had to go and make them forget. I was like, why didn't you just let them know? very little would have changed. Season 3, they ended up barely bothering the Rangers. They also became quote-unquote upstanding citizens. They were right there. They could have done new ideas with them knowing. I always felt it was one of the show's biggest missed opportunities. But even with all that, it's still my favorite Season 2 episode. Now, easy choice with Season 3's worst episode, A Friend in Need. Why was this put at the front of the season? Then you have Alpha's backstory. So we find out he's from the Mask Rider planet. Okay, cool. We got some answers for Alpha, except he doesn't do anything. This is a 3-parter that doesn't feature Alpha. We couldn't see where he was built, what happened to Alpha 1 through 4, how did Zordon meet him, none of that was answered. All we got was information on Dax, this new superhero with new villains. I wasn't a fan of Mask Rider. I think at this point I was watching Superhuman Samurai. I know I saw a few episodes. I didn't completely ignore it, but Dax didn't do it for me. VR Troopers was far more interesting than Mask Rider. His planet was also pretty boring. They got stuck in caves. The only real thing I liked was the bad guys, and that sucked because of it being based off Kamen Rider Black RX. So there was no way they could get a Megazord fight with a monster from that show. Stuff I wanted to see. So mix this with me waiting for Season 3 and an overload of all these damn shows, I didn't need another one. We had VR Troopers, MMPR, Superhuman. On cable they had Tattooed Teenagers. Then Beetleborg started just 1 year later. I just couldn't get over the fact that Alpha didn't get anything to do. Like some sort of special suit on Nidanoi so he could fight or do something. No, he just mopes around. I think this was the reason why I hated Ronnie on Empty so much, because they do the same crap there. Alright, before I explode, let's go to the best. Even though I give lots of hate to Season 3, which it deserves, it was still creative with how they dealt with the Kaku Ranger footage in changing of the Zords. Since we had 6 Rangers, they were lucky Kaku Ranger had the Falcon Zord, but that was actually in the second half of the season. Kaku Rangers was very strange when it comes to the mechs. Muteki Shogun was there first, but because the suit was so big, they hardly did fights with it. It would just be a quick transformation and finisher. So Season 3 decided to flop the order with the Ninja Zords. First because they needed the Rito and Pastor Vile footage, then because of the lack of Shogun material. I like that they introduced the planet of the Zords, explain how other people could make Zords or where they were originally conceived, and of course, this was the start of Kat and Kim's arc. It was a good plan. They stole the Falcon Zord to explain the lack of Ninja Zords. They even used when Ninja Man was captured. They were juggling a lot of footage, and when you watch it, it doesn't feel wrong. So many times, even when you have no knowledge of the Sentai, you can tell when there's an issue with footage. Look at Season 2 and the Thunder Megazord not interacting with certain monsters, or the amount of times Tiger Zord's footage got repeated, or the endless fights in the park. They knocked it out with this 3-parter. Kim's departure, Kat going evil to good, and bringing in the Shogun Megazord, which I personally love the design more over the Ninja Zords. I like giant, bulky designs. I rewatched these episodes the most from Season 3. Now for Zeo. Rocky sucked. The stupid reveal that Tommy was Native American, that Christmas episode, and the season finale of Zeo are all bad. But Rangers of Two Worlds is the one that is the worst. I don't care that it's a team up. That was just their way to covering up the crap. This is the departure of Billy. Kind of a big deal. The guy who got screwed out of becoming 6th Ranger. He had nothing to do in the season. He was just a glorified alpha. What was the plan with Billy if he wasn't going to be the Gold Ranger and he didn't quit the show? Was he just going to be Alpha's replacement in Turbo? Either way, a total disrespect. They did nothing in the latter half of Zeo to prepare the audience for him leaving. Leaving for Aquitar, I would have been fine if that was his end, if he had gotten one more go. It would have been cool if Billy had to save the Zeo and Alien Rangers. They got captured, there was no one else, and Billy goes and uses his damaged Season 2 Morpher. The Morpher fails, he gets badly injured, so he goes to Aquitar to get help, and he moves on with his life. But instead, we get this old man crap, no David Yost goodbye, and that montage does not make up for it. Worst team up the franchise ever did. I'm planning a Ranger rewrite on this one. As for best episode, I couldn't really think of one that stood out. There's a bunch of good ones. Jason coming back, I didn't really go holy crap. King for a Day are good episodes, but I wish it was really just 2 episodes and not 3. I wish the Bulk of Skull stuff wasn't in it. So I ended up picking Rockabye Power Rangers. I know it's a random choice, but it was one of the few times Mondo had a plan. It wasn't basic or stupid. Mondo tired the Rangers out. We were still in the whole who's the Gold Ranger plot line, so I was still holding out for Billy being the Gold Ranger. I always wanted this to happen. The show constantly overlooks this. These guys are always going to school. At any point they could be killed. They have to leave school to fight monsters. All this and them keeping up with their grades, it's a crazy amount of pressure. They should be getting tired on a regular basis. The monster was also pretty interesting, proper amount of funny. It's also the few times that Zeo borrowed a good chunk of the O-Ranger story. Clank and Orbis got used a fair bit. O-Ranger was pretty bad at using them, so it wasn't Zeo's fault. The whole city was in danger, and it was a good way to force the Gold Ranger out. This was one where I said, oh yeah, Billy's the Gold Ranger for sure. He's just hiding it. It's why I really hated the team-up episodes. Let's go to Turbo. Honey, I Shrunk the Rangers is the episode that destroyed Power Rangers for me. It had so many wrongs. It was a ripoff of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. It wasn't funny. It had them shrink and turn into bugs. Either have them shrink or turn into bugs, not both. Justin and Blue Centurion basically did nothing for most of it. And the worst thing, it was the last episodes before power transfer. So you don't have the actors be on screen for the last time. There was no wrapping up stories in the previous episodes. So we go through this random boring two-parter, then to just get shoved TJ and Cassie out of nowhere in the next ones. The original team was a lost cause at this point, but they could have had TJ and Cassie come in during this and helped out. It would have been something. All these mistakes is what made me decide to give up on the show. I tried to give the new team a chance. There was some episodes I did like in the second half. I'll get to that. But there was no soul left. Just get a monster in. Justin's a genius. He can give dating advice to teens. Blue cop guy, who cares? Don't resolve anything with him. Alpha has a crap voice. Who cares? Demetria talking like Yoda and has a twin sister. Who cares? Drop all that. As for the best, I don't even understand how this episode got made. The first team walks off. We had detonators thrown around, a second team that didn't have any proper introduction, but they go and deal with one of the most complicated questions out there. What is life? It's like going from Barney to Shakespeare. How did this episode happen? I mean it. How did John Fletcher pull out such a good episode? One of the major issues when it comes to Justin, there was no appropriate story that took advantage of him being a prodigy. He just kept getting handed the cliche kid being bullied, or he's going, oh my God, I'm a Power Ranger. You can do that for 1 or 2 episodes, but then it gets old fast. Robot Ranger takes advantage of him being smart and puts him in a what's going on story. And it doesn't end in the usual, oh, robot replacements are bad like they did in Lightspeed Rescue. The Robot Rangers completed their task. Robot Justin finds out he's a robot, and they go off to do whatever mission they were built for. I would have liked to have seen them again. At least we can use them to explain the duplicate Turbo team in Super Megaforce. This is what I wanted from Turbo. You brought in a new character, kicking out Rocky, who wasn't used all that good, with a worse character. I may have not quit PR if they had made this and Little Strongman in the first half. It didn't speak down to the audience. It had body horror. It felt like an X-Files episode. It was high concept. If it was an adult series, it could have delved deeper. You have to think about the psychological aspects of what Robot Justin went through. All they needed was this consistent character quality, and Turbo wouldn't have sucked. Car Ranger gave them something very valuable. A blank slate. You could do anything with the footage, and that's what they did here. This was all original. It was a bottle episode. With the only improvement I can give would have been to incorporate Blue Centurion into the story, which would have helped this character too. Imagine he was the one who needed them on his planet. Maybe his planet can't support organic life, so he helped create the Robot Rangers. It would have been a way to showcase something from him, or at least acknowledge his memory problem with the message. I think I blabbered on enough for part 1. Thanks everyone for watching. My list is probably more unorthodox than people would expect. See you next time for part 2, covering Space through Wild Force. Archer out.